And I don't want to be speaking too much about it, but if you look what's happened since I broke up that ridiculous Iran nuclear deal, money isn't going to some horrible, horrible groups, and you haven't seen the kind of terrorism that you saw before. Now, I don't like saying it, because all of a sudden they'll say, we've got to do something, but you know what? They're not getting money because Iran isn't giving money. And I appreciate that, but Iran is going through very difficult times, and I appreciate that. And I'll say this, and I can say it very publicly, that if I win the election, I will have a deal made with Iran within 30 days. They'll make a very fast deal. They're dying to make a deal, but they'd much rather negotiate with sleepy Joe Biden than with us.
Why would Joe?
But we'll be having a deal made very, very quickly. But you know, rightfully they're waiting till after the election because there's nothing China, Iran, Russia, all of them would like to see more than have Trump be defeated where they can deal with Joe Biden, because that would be like a dream. And this was something that was very exciting. We thought this would be the first country. He's a great leader. Mohammed's a great leader. And we're very happy that he was the first country, I would say. And you're going to see many other things happening in the Middle East over a fairly short period of time. But this is the first time in more than 25 years. And UAE is big stuff. The UAE is very powerful, very strong, has one of the strongest militaries. It's big stuff.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we are going to take a look at the latest breaking news that you are definitely not going to see on the fake news mainstream media, and that's this story that has been broken by a documentary that came out today where it has exposed exactly what we talked about, the hammer, the illegal surveillance, and how deep it actually goes. But we've even found out more, and it is bombshell stuff that you need to stick around and check out, plus a whole lot more. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know the drill. Thanks to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you guys haven't done it, please come here, click the big red subscribe button, hit that bell, then select the all button so you get notified as soon as all these videos get posted. And I'm inviting all of you to stick around. At the end of this episode, we do a segment called God's Grace is Greater, and where we look at Scripture and we talk about what's most important, and that's God's grace. And today we're going to look at a verse out of the book of James again, and this is talking about the wisdom from above, because I think it's important for us all to understand that there are things that are far out of our ability and realm to control, but God tells us what the true wisdom from above is, and we'll read those words a little bit later here on the episode. So before we get into that, though, as always, we go check the cue board. We haven't had anything new. It's 4620 is where we left off, and but we do have major news that's come out. So a few things happened today. First of all, one of the major stories was a reporter in the White House press pool actually asked President Trump the question about QAnon.
I wanted to ask you, you congratulated Marjorie Taylor Greene in a tweet. You called her a future Republican star. Greene has been a proponent of the QAnon conspiracy theory. She said it's something that would be worth listening to. Do you agree with her on that?
Well, she did very well in the election. She won by a lot. She was very popular. She comes from a great state, and she had a tremendous victory. So absolutely, I did congratulate her. Please, go ahead.
On QAnon and her decision to embrace that conspiracy theory. Do you agree with her on that? That was the question.
Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to ask you what ails your brother Robert?
Okay, why would they do that? Because they know everything that they've been involved with is going to be exposed. This show, we're going to talk about the major stories that have come out today, including Kevin Kleinsmith and others about this documentary that was released, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But before we get into those, we're just going to talk about, in general, what's happening here. First of all, if you look back, Kevin Kleinsmith is the one who's being picked up today, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But if you look back at previous Q posts, 11.3 is one we see a lot now. Everybody's saying today online 11.3. Well, that makes sense. If you look at the alphabet, K is the 11th letter, C is the third letter. So 11.3 people are putting together with the start, which is Kevin Kleinsmith's KC. And of course, Q has used this in the past before to show us that there's stuff coming that will be proved in the future. And of course, here we are today where it seems everything is being proven. Not to mention the fact that it was pointed out here that there may be some sort of events coming up that the fake news is teeing up QAnon supporters for. So why would they ask President Trump the question today? it seems as though they were doing it because, as Q told us in this last drop, right, what do they have planned ahead, right? Right here it says, when direct attacks use of inserts, cutouts fail, censorship ban deployed as aggressive methods to slow limit growth. Next, more active violence frame-ups. Controlled information dissemination system designed to control you is threatened. If you pose no threat, reaching topics to their control information dominance, they would not continue to expend ammunition. They would not care. So, look, they tried to get President Trump to say something about it because they said Marjorie Greene is I can't remember her full name, but the person who's looking like they're going to be in the Senate, who's a big QAnon supporter, they're saying, oh, she's a QAnon supporter. What do you think about that? And he just was like, yeah, she's a good person. And then he just kind of ignored the QAnon part of the question. So the president had a chance today in front of the entire nation to categorically, disavow Q, and he didn't. So what does that tell you? And even further, he's been out supporting her and saying how great she is. And now you have the fake news writing all these stories about how QAnon conspiracy theorists are going into Congress. And what threat do we put to them? As it says here, their information dissemination system designed to control you is threatened. That's exactly what it seems Millie Weaver uncovered with this documentary that we'll talk about in detail here in a minute. But I had to do that. So I had to start here and give you guys a little background on what we're doing, or what is happening, I should say, and what's happening just overall. And we're going to talk about it. First, today, Durham has announced that Kevin Kleinsmith, the person named by Q months ago, maybe a year ago, more, as being one of the insiders who helped facilitate this coup, who helped doctor evidence, has pled guilty, or is going to plead guilty to this allegation, or I guess this crime that was committed, where they doctored the emails, right, that proved that their investigation into Carter Page was basically unwarranted, because Carter Page was actively working with our intelligence services to go to Russia and get information. So the whole predicate of them spying on President Trump was a guy named Carter Page, who was having dealings with the Russians and having dealings with the Trump campaign. But the investigators, and apparently Kevin Kleinsmith, doctored an email to deceive a FISA court where they went to get an application to spy on President Trump from, by doctoring it so that it did not show that they already were actively working Carter Page as an asset to go to Russia and get information. So they knew that their whole predication was false, right? And this is the first step in a line of many arrests that will be coming. But we have a bigger story, unbelievably, than that. Because we kind of knew this one coming out. But today, this InfoWars reporter, Millie Weaver, now say what you will about InfoWars. I know what everybody thinks about, Alex Jones and all that. Put that aside, right? Because this movie that was put out here today blows the whistle on the whole thing that I've been talking about with the hammer, the stuff that's been being reported on by Alan Jones, Mary Fanning, about the abuse of these super surveillance systems. But they go beyond super surveillance systems. It's like micro-targeted social media warfare, right? Where they have these all-encompassing, very complex AI systems that are used to manipulate the masses. And what do I mean by that? Well, the story itself is just fascinating. You guys need to watch the documentary that was just put out about it. And it's right here. It's called Shadowgate. And so Millie Weaver was arrested today, and her husband as well, and because of a grand jury that came back with an indictment for some kind of burglary crime. But it seems that they're going to try to frame them up as if they were the Watergate burglars going in and stealing something. But look, I don't know much about this yet, and this is very, new. And I've been researching it, and people I talk to seem to think this is very likely, to be what is happening behind the scenes. Now, what is it? It's a system that was used and put together by these individuals who were involved in the military and intelligence, who then took this complex system that was put together by the military intelligence that was used like in Afghanistan to help, combat the Taliban by socially engineering the population, by doing this kind of infiltration warfare where they would just soak up and saturate all of the media, social media posts, all of the outgoing, communications, everything in the media and what they're watching and what they're saying and how they feel about things. And then they would use that information in a very complex way to basically to create reflexive responses, meaning they interpret all this information and then they say, okay, well, if we go to these areas and these neighborhoods and we say these things, then we're going to get this reaction and this will lead to this outcome. And if you think about it, this all seems to tie all the way back into stuff like we talked about here with the, like I said, with the hammer that was exposed and the way that they were using that surveillance tool, but more overly with a shadow government that still seems to be alive and well and active, and according to this video, which I don't even know, because look, this is the kind of information that it's so big and major that I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. I'm just putting it out here because, as obviously we do, it's our right to have free speech and talk about things that are in the public domain, right? But if you want to watch this for yourself, it's out there now. I, shared it on my Twitter, just a link to somebody else who posted it. So, and yeah, I mean, there's not much I can say about it because the movie kind of speaks for itself. It just goes through everything and how they did it. And I'm, still trying to put all these pieces together, but it sounds so familiar, like with how they orchestrated this massive insurrection against President Trump, how they had people inside, how they took it, and patented technologies and AI systems for manipulation that were developed by the military, and then they moved them into private, unaccountable corporations, which then are headed and board and have their boards filled with, all of these, ex-DC guys and all these ex-military guys or even former military, active military, etc. It is beyond me to see this information come out, and we'll have to see what happens next. I don't have much on it yet, as it's breaking news, and already we have 2 people who are in jail over this, and it seems they're going to come out and try to say that there was some breach of some kind of confidentiality, classified nature here. But according to the people who created this documentary, this is like the equivalent of having a system where you can just log in and you can go read anything that's on anyone's computer. You can go listen to any of their conversations. You can collect all the information you want in the world about them. And it just blows my mind that this came out, and then I guess on the same day, Millie and her husband were arrested. I did happen to watch Alex Jones today talk about this issue, and he's scared of this stuff, and like I said, whatever you say about him, is what it is. But we're, I know me and the people here, patriots who are watching this, we're just patriots. We just love our country. We just want this kind of stuff to not be used against us, not to have these complex AI weaponized systems turned on us to affect our free and fair elections. What do you think all this is, right? I mean, it's like game theory on steroids with a AI system that has a computer, like a quantum computer. That's basically what this is, right? And they're using it, and it seems as though they've been using it for a while now, and they are completely unaccountable. It talks about how they got into the Congress and how you would use this to blackmail people. You could plant evidence. You could just create it out of thin air. I mean, the things that are talked about in this film are what nightmares are made of. What it looks like to live in an Orwellian dystopia is exactly what this movie seems to highlight. And look, all I'm saying is I watched it, and it was out in the public domain, and this is all there. So, and it talks about Seth Rich, and it talks about how this was all like the film claims that Seth Rich was just doing what he thought was the right thing. He was downloading all the emails to give to a security firm or to a security asset under the guise of like protecting it, and that's what he got mad about and went and tried to sue the DNC over, and with his lawyer, and they both mysteriously died. Was he was saying, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't leak this to WikiLeaks. He's saying I gave it to the people who were supposed to be protecting it, right? And then it gets into Cambridge Analytica and how that affected, how that was like a setup of Trump, and it just goes through all these things, man. I'm telling you, I'm shocked. I'm floored by this. I'm still hopeful for our nation, and I hope that the people in charge at this point will realize that this has to be reined in. Obviously, they go right around Section 702. It seems as though they may have taken these private companies and tapped them into the upstream data collection that the NSA is doing, right? Where the NSA takes everything and holds it for 72 hours, and then so that, you know, they have that. I mean, look, this whole thing is beyond me. And I'm just going to leave it for you guys to tell me what you think in the comments below, because it just blows my mind when I watch this. And I saw the big news today about Kleinsmith, and you're kind of putting everything together and you're going, wow, this is terrifying. And then it also makes sense now. Remember, we talked about this yesterday about how YouTube updated its, the rules and regulations for elections. And one of the things they talk about here is removing content that contains hacked information. This is what we talked about yesterday. I talked about this yesterday. With this movie, this documentary that just came out, it makes 100% complete sense why YouTube's changing its policies, because they're going to try to censor this information, I would imagine, right? I mean, it seems as though that, you know, the way these systems are set up, it's like I said, it's like having a super computer hooked up to a targeted social media warfare apparatus that's with advanced AI, right? That can be used to cause these different things. And they talk about in the movie examples like the Ferguson riots and what happened there, and how with this pandemic and these riots today, that they were speculating that it may have something to do with that as well. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, this is America, and we have to stand up for something. I stand up for Christ, God, and the Holy Spirit. I stand up for this country, which I love, and my family, and look, and all you guys, all of us out there, I think we all want the same thing. As I said before, we just want freedom of speech. We just don't want to be manipulated and controlled by these massive systems of deception. And I just, look, this one's got really major implications to it if it's all true. And of course, John Roberts, we talked about this before. Patrick Halley, wrote these stories about how, was he hacked by Brennan and Clapper? Was this system that's just been exposed, how they were able to hack all of our government, right? And to collect all the upstream data and then use that upstream data to do whatever they want. I mean, wow, I am floored. I'm shocked. And you'd imagine, I do this every day. It takes a lot to shock me. The contents of that film shocked me. The documentary, I should say. And the fact that Millie's under arrest and her husband's under arrest, it floors me even further. But, President Trump told us major changes are coming. Q warned us that it would get hot in August, and everything's been pointing to this, that this information would come out one way or the other. This may be the move that they didn't anticipate. I mean, although it seems as though as they were making this documentary that, there were forces even out at that time trying to stop them. But President Trump, with his comment saying that's just the beginning about this Kevin Kleinsmith thing, because he knows it's going to go up further. And, they talk about what do we do? How do we fix this? Well, I don't have all those answers yet, but I can tell you that at this point, again, we just want a fair system. We just want to not be controlled and manipulated through these massive, supercomputer AI systems that are obviously in the hands of people who had held power previously. And these are private corporations. These are government contracting corporations, right? That are established and have their boards filled with a bunch of the swamp people, And President Trump's been up against a heck of a machine here. And he's even said it, it's hard to go up against something this big, because ultimately they've had decades to set these systems up, and they're very complex. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say other than you guys be the judge of it for yourself. As of course, Hillary Clinton is getting off of her deposition, saying that she doesn't have to testify. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll just pretend that, whatever, right? It's like, man, I am watching this all happen, and you are watching it all happen, and it is just beyond me how we are at this point. But I'll leave links to everything if you want to read about it below. Also, this makes sense now where we talked about yesterday. Hillary Clinton talking about she wants to help in any way she can in the Biden administration. Because it seems as though this is what it seems like. There were factions that didn't want Hillary to get elected, but knew that Trump was uncontrollable. So that's what the whole Cambridge Analytica thing was, that they made it look as though President Trump was getting help from the Russians, while at the same time, having WikiLeaks go and before that release all her emails, Hillary Clinton's emails, so she couldn't win. So they basically sabotaged Clinton, according to this documentary, if it's true, which I don't know. But it seems as though that they're saying that there was a sabotaging of the Clinton camp, and then they thought they could set up Trump with the Cambridge Analytica thing, so they'd come around later and get him removed from office. And you're like, to what end is that? I'm like, well, who would become president if President Trump was impeached? And maybe that's where your answer lies. So, look, this is some big news, and I just thought I'd share that. I wanted to get it out there and talk about it, and I really want to know what you guys have to think about all this. Let me know. It's a major story, and I'm praying for us all. I'm praying for us as a nation right now, because we're going to need to get through this. This is going to be quite the thing. Now, finally, I believe I found this is the official GoFundMe for Cannon Hinnant, who was murdered in cold blood by a very deranged person who is under arrest now, and in front of his sisters, and in broad daylight in his front yard playing on his bicycle. And this is a fundraiser for him and his family, and if I'll leave a link to it if you're interested in contributing to that, because it's a worthwhile cause, I believe, and I will be contributing right after this episode as well. So, just thought I'd share that, and that's pretty much where we're going to wrap it up. It's a little shorter episode today, but that's because, I just wanted to talk about that one major news story, and then let you guys kind of go, do your own research, because this movie, I'm not trying to tell anyone what to think. Go out and research it. I'll be researching it. I watched it already. I've watched it a few times. I've rewatched clips. I'm trying to figure it all out, but I just had to talk about it because it is a major news story that you're definitely not going to hear on the fake news. So, with that, a few more things before we go. Oh yeah, did I mention this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser? I probably didn't, but that's okay. If you guys want a great internet browser, something that's better than Firefox, Chrome, Safari, whatever you're using, try out the Brave Browser today. It blocks the ads. And even though, obviously, given all the revelations that we're seeing in these documentaries, it's basically impossible to have any real privacy anymore online, digitally at all. But at least this product, it works well. It blocks the ads. It's got firewall, VPN. It's got built-in Tor browser. So it is a good product. And when you use the link in the description to download it for free, they'll make a contribution to this channel. So it's a win-win. I use this product. That's why I'm recommending it to you. So go check out the Brave Browser below. Also, before we go, watch these videos, share them. Also, don't forget to leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Also, you can find me over on Twitter at JustInformU for now, right? And also at informed_news. Plus, I have Just Informed Clips, the the channel where I'll be posting all of the clips that I've amassed in my library over the past few years as I've covered all this Q stuff. And there's a lot of information, so I'm just going to keep posting them over here, and you guys can check that out in the link. Also, I'm on Parler at Just Informed Talk, and BitChute's the backup channel, Just Informed Talk there as well. And of course, the official website for Just Informed Talk, which is justinformednews.com. And if you want to help contribute and keep this channel running, there's a Patreon set up, which is, Patreon.com/JustinFormedTalk, crowdfunding website, monthly donation. Your support keeps this channel alive, and I thank you for all your support. Also, we GoFundMe set up for anyone who wants to make a one-time or anonymous donation. Links to everything will be in the description below this video. And finally, before we go, we do a segment at the end called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today I want to talk about wisdom from above, out of the book of James. It's chapter 3, verse 13 through 18. And, you know, we as Christians, we are always looking for the right answers. You know, how do we help others? How do we be kind? How do we live a better life? And there's so many answers. I mean, all the answers really are in Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit, and here in the book, the Bible, as we read. And I want to share this with you, but it says who, and this is about the wisdom that comes from above. And this is what I was seeking, because I was just praying. I'm like, God, this is crazy. Like, as I was watching and kind of absorbing all this information, and then I was like, you know, the only answers are in the Bible, and I want to share that the only answers that matter, I guess, are in the Bible, and in the good word, in the word of our Lord here. But I want to share these words that spoke to me. Talk about wisdom from above, because, you know, we all need wisdom right now. It says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? He should show his works by good conduct with wisdom's gentleness. But if you have bitter envy or selfish ambition in your heart, don't brag and lie in defiance of the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from above, but is earthly, sensual, demonic. For where envy and selfish ambition exist, there is disorder and every kind of evil. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peace-loving, gentle, compliant, full of mercy and good fruits, without favoritism and hypocrisy, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace." And when I read those words, I kind of thought, wow, that's what we need to seek here. We don't need to allow people to harm us and to you know, hurt us. We really need to seek peace and remember that in our lives, we can only control our own actions. We can't control things that are way out of our realm of control. We can come together, we can peacefully march, and we can, you know, show them that we're serious, and we can show them the way to Christ. We can tell them about the gospel. But ultimately, for us, most of us out there, we need that wisdom from above. So you need to pray, first of all, and remember that the wisdom that's on this earth is all just evil, sensual, demonic, earthly. But, and why? Because there's envy and selfish ambition attached to it, right? But the wisdom that comes from above is pure, peace-loving, gentle, compliant, full of mercy and good fruits, without favoritism and hypocrisy. So, my message to you all is, remember, we as Christians are peace lovers, but we stand for what's righteous no matter what. So that's my message. I hope you guys take that, share that with your family, friends, and loved ones. And remember, come here, click the big red subscribe button. Also hit it, punch it, tap it, whatever. Hit that like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me, though. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.